Hello, the video I'm going to make today is a very important video because I'm going to focus on how the bankers have succeeded in dividing a lot of us that really should be united against the immoral banking industry and the immoral central banks and the fractional reserve banking system as it operates today. And one way they have been able to divide us is to basically get people to focus unnecessarily, to waste their energies on either bipartisan issues if you're an American, or just political issues in general. And what I mean by this is that they try to present to us an illusion like we have choice. They try to present to us like the illusion that one party is actually for us while another party is against us. So they keep us bickering amongst ourselves instead of uniting against them. And a prime example of this, say, was the 2008 bailout plan in the United States for the bankers that amounted to $800 billion plus. And the Democratic Party in the United States originally rejected that, so it fooled a lot of people into believing, and a lot of Americans into believing, that the Democratic Party were for us, while the Republicans were not for us. So it started a lot of the focus on these bipartisan issues. But in reality, the Democrats and Republicans, they all serve the same masters, and those masters are the bankers. So in the end, the Democrats were going to approve that bailout plan no matter what. It was just all a show for us, because behind closed doors it's a totally different story when they're shaking hands and making deals, and in public they just bicker for us, just so they, so we're presented with that illusion. Now, one way I know this is a fact, is that if you follow fiscal and monetary policy, say over the past 50 years, even over the past century, no matter what country you live in, you're going to find that the fiscal and monetary policy has been consistent and has been the same, even if the candidates that have served your country, the prime ministers and the presidents, have appeared to be widely different characters and with widely different personalities and widely different views on how things should operate in your country. You will find that the fiscal and monetary policy is entirely the same. Why is that? It's because the bankers fund these prime ministers. These bankers fund the campaigns to get these presidents elected. So in the end, the bankers, the prime ministers and presidents all over the world are nothing just but puppets for these bankers, and they just do their will. And so, today I can't think of one prime minister or one president in the entire world that I think is actually fighting for the rights of citizens versus doing whatever the bankers want them to do, which is against the best interests of the people in your country, no matter what country you live in. Now, people often get my message completely twisted. So in the past, when I've criticized, say, Juan Manuel Barroso as president of the EU, or I've criticized President Obama of the United States, people take that personally as an attack on this president or this government official that they might really adore or they really like. Versus what I'm trying to say is, I'm not criticizing that particular person or that particular prime minister or that particular president. All I'm criticizing are their allegiances and their loyalties, which are to the bankers, and which is quite clear if you look at their monetary policy, if you look at their fiscal policy. So, like, I could care less if Juan Manuel Barroso remains president of the EU. I could care less that Berlusconi was kicked out of Italy, because it doesn't matter who replaces them. And that's why people are focusing their energy on the wrong issues here. They should be looking at the root of the problem, and they should be looking at the wizard behind the curtain, which are the global bankers, which are the central bankers of this world. So it doesn't matter who was president before them. It doesn't matter who is president after. It doesn't matter that the U.S. national debt has gone from $4.4 trillion to a ridiculous $15 trillion under President Obama. Because if you look at President Clinton, probably the worst damage that's coming home to roost was done under Clinton's tenure, when he appointed Alan Greenspan as the chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, and Alan Greenspan basically let all the banks run amok and wrote all the global banks a blank check to basically steal and to pillage and to loot from all the global citizens of the world by deregulating all financial derivatives. So, the charade just continues, And so that's why it's extremely, extremely important when I say to follow the money, because you look at even Italy, right, with Berlusconi, who was just routed and ran out of the country by citizens. Well, who did they get? They got someone even worse in Mario Monti. So if you look at Mario Monti, what did Italian citizens achieve by running Berlusconi out of town, even though Berlusconi was obviously just a puppet for the bankers as well? They got even a bigger puppet for the bankers in Mario Monti. Monti is a member of the Bilderberg Group. He's the EU chairman of the Trilateral Commission, which was founded by Zbigniew Brzezinski, who founded it for the Rockefeller banking clan. Mario Monti was the finance and economy minister of Italy. He was a professor at the University of Turin and a president of Bocconi University. So you see the revolving door between government officials and institutional academia, because the bankers always want to make sure that they run their propaganda not only through government officials, but also through institutional academia, so they can brainwash impressionable young students as well. So, I mean, Mario Monti is just one of many, many, many examples you can find of basically pawns that the bankers have used. Larry Summers is another one, who was U.S. Secretary of Treasury, then was the youngest tenured professor at Harvard University, then became the president of Harvard University, and then became an economic advisor to Barack Obama. So it's irrelevant, like when we get into partisan politics, it's just a waste of your energy and time. You have to understand that the root of the problem is really coming from the global banking system. So you see, bankers today have become extremely, extremely clever in their mechanisms for dividing us and conquering us and keeping us as economic slaves under their immoral monetary system. So in the past, when I've criticized presidents, when I've criticized prime ministers, when I criticized leaders of certain government organizations, it's only because of their affiliation and their strong allegiances and to their banking masters. So it has nothing to do with that person. I'm merely pointing out the relationship so people can understand that this is not where our energies need to be focused, because changing the president, changing the prime minister is not going to accomplish anything. If you follow any money trail, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Look who funded your favorite president or your favorite prime minister. You'll find that the bankers have provided millions and millions of dollars to their election campaigns, to their re-election campaigns. Look what happens when your favorite prime minister leaves office or your favorite president leaves office. Look at Tony Blair when he left the prime ministership of the UK. He received millions and millions of pounds as compensation for basically his retainer fees from JP Morgan, from Zurich financial services. And you see, it's the same masters that these people serve that harm the people so much that they get rewarded by when they leave the office, and they're guaranteed millions and millions of pounds, millions of yen, millions of dollars, and so on. So understand that the bankers are not going to club you over the head today. They're going to do it in such a way that they fool you, and they fool you into basically using up all your energies in something that will get us nowhere. So really, if you follow the money trail, that's what I'm urging you to do. If you don't understand what I'm saying, if you don't understand that bankers have basically overrun all governments and control all governments, please read the article below in the video description, because this article called The Silent Coup, or it might be The Quiet Coup, will explain to you how bankers have basically overrun all governments and that they make all the decisions now. And if you look at even any regime change that has happened in the last 50 years, even though it looks like the regime change could be positive because a dictator is basically being replaced. Basically, when you look at it, those dictators have been in place for years and years and years. So why the regime change at a certain time when it happened? And if you connect the dots, if you connect all the dots together, you will see that there's a common denominator through all these regime changes. And it's when that dictator challenged the banking system today, challenged the monetary system. So there's something they did, such as wanting to sell oil in currency other than US dollars, wanting to try to enact a a gold standard in their country or tie their currency to gold. It was something that would always threaten the bankers. And that's when regime change came in. So understand that it is money that rules everything. So I hope the message of this video is clear, and that's basically that we shouldn't be wasting our energies talking about divisive politics, because it really does not matter who's president or who's prime minister in your country. We should be focusing on the true enemy, and that is the global banking cartel. So while a lot of us are like actually the people in the background that we're on very thin ice here and about ready to fall into the freezing water because of the immoral fractional reserve banking system and the silent tax that bankers slap on all of us called inflation, we need to realize that basically the situation that exists today is the very same conditions that gave rise to the American Revolution, except it's just not overt. So there's no soldiers banging on your door with rifles in your face, asking you to pay part of your salary. They just take it through inflation. They take it through the fractional reserve banking system, and we need to basically realize this so we can unite instead of being so divisive amongst each other. So that's part 3 of the Truth Chronicles, and stay tuned, and I'll have more episodes of the Truth Chronicles coming soon. Thanks for watching.